Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Things Podcast. This is your host, Blaine Burgess. And today we have episode 66. If you know anything about Star Wars, it's made me think immediately of Order 66. And today is part 3 on our series on Leonardo da Vinci. I'm just going to get right into it because I think today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter. I mean, I usually will talk, I'll try to link, whatever I talk about to real life. So I'll probably talk a little bit more. Sometimes I give an update at the beginning of the show. So I'll probably talk more about personal life stuff at the end. So yeah, we'll hop right into it. Also, I got some food cooking, so just gotta eat. I've been fasting all day, ready for this dinner. But anyways, I do want to do justice to this episode because I think it's kind of a cool one. There's a lot of things that make up our reality. Being in chiropractic school or anyone who's been through medical school, honestly, to learn about the human body and then to ponder what it is that ever possibly created the human race or any of the animals or anything on earth, the way that all these things interact is fascinating, and even just observing one of those things in a vacuum is fascinating. So there's a lot to learn and understand, and I mentioned in the past episodes that as smart as we think we are, we'll never know everything about what's going on here. Who knows? Maybe AI will help speed it up, but even in that case, AI brings up another good point too, is because it's its own thing, its own technology, is it ever going to perceive the world the way that we do? Probably not, because for reasons I'll talk about right now. Anyways, the third aspect of what made Leonardo da Vinci a genius, they say, is sensazione, or in other words, sensation. Senses. So apparently, as an artist, he had a workshop that he would basically just keep stocked with things that stimulated his senses. And there's all kinds of ways that we do this in modern life. Even right now, I've got some incense going. I'm in a nice air-conditioned room. I'm wearing my favorite style of t-shirt. And shorts and socks and all these things that I'm feeling on my body, and the thing I'm smelling the the dinner I'm cooking, I'm smelling the incense. Like I said, when I walked in the door, I smelled a little bit of weed. I think one of my neighbors is having a little bit of fun right now. So yeah, just this environment, even just coming home and being in my apartment right now. The way I decorate the walls, the way I turn the lights on when I get in. I got one part of my apartment super dark, the other one's bright where I'm over here working. So all of these things kind of cultivate this environment. And for better or for worse, it can influence you and how you are, your state of being. So I thought an interesting way to continue on this topic is just to go over all the ways the body senses things, and then maybe talk about, again, me personally, how I kind of deal with that for me, because ultimately the nervous system, what I'm concerned with as a doctor, is the way that we kind of take in all these things, and it's easy to have that system be overwhelmed. And it's just literally a bunch of chemical reactions that when they start to get out of balance, things get very tricky. So the five senses that we think of that we're taught in school, are also linked to organs. So like taste is like the tongue, smell in the mouth. And we got touch. It's basically all of our skin can typically feel touch. Maybe some spots specifically that can't. And then you have hearing. I'm literally have an earbud in right now listening to my own voice to make sure the audio is quality on this. And last is sight. So me just looking around. Just make sure I got all of them. Taste, touch, sight, sound, smell. Yep. So all those are obviously rocking right now. I got my incense, got my light on. I'm over here looking at my phone, looking at my notes. I'm not tasting anything right now, but I can kind of taste that chicken through the air. You get what I'm saying? So those are the five that we all think of. But what I learned in school, the body is far more sophisticated than that. That's kind of the first level. And honestly, a lot of those are what keeps us alive. Our taste keeps us from eating things that are bad for us, that might be poisonous. Hearing, honestly, hearing is one of the quickest things. If we hear like a loud bang or boom, that can send someone into an unconscious state of flight, fight or flight really. But one of the best ways our body keeps us alive. And then sometimes a little bit less so, touch, you maybe touch something hot, you might not react right away and get burned. Smell, like you can smell something burning, like I do right now, but that's the incense. I also smelled the weed earlier. And then sight, a little bit slower than hearing, but obviously sight, you can see danger coming. So it's a ways that our body protects us, but we also have some other ways. In physiology, we learn about proprioception. So knowing where your body parts are in space without looking. Muscles, joints, and tendons really contribute to this, and some people are better at it than others. Professional athletes typically great at proprioception. They know what their ankle is doing while they're flying in the air for a dunk. We have equilibrioception. So inside your ear, if you heard of vertigo, you have these little fluid-filled chambers, and it basically is telling your brain, are we on level? Am I on solid ground? Am I, being spun around? All kinds of things. It tells you how you're moving in space. If you're still, it tells you if your body thinks that it's, kind of straight up and down or not. And if you're laying down, your body can tell. It likes to relax and rest. All kinds of stuff in that way. And I actually listened to a fascinating talk a couple weeks ago about how basically equilibrioception, like your vestibular inner ear system, if it's disturbed at all. So vertigo is like a very, very easy way to understand this. So you get the spins, and it's like your ear is telling your brain that you're moving, but you're really not. So your vision starts going crazy. And there's some ways you can help that pretty easily, and sometimes it's a little bit more complicated and a little bit more nerve related and can be a lot more insidious. But very, very minor problems with equilibrioception, vestibular system problems, can cause basically anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious and you don't really know why, it could be, for example, say one of your hips is out of place just slightly, and then one leg, although your legs are the same length, one leg can become shorter than the other. Your body will start to lean that way, and then all the other muscles and bones in your body will orient themselves on the way up. So you're like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and your eyes will automatically level. So you could cause like a little bit of a head tilt, and then muscles on one side get contracted. And over the period of months and years, this can cause issues. But then say the hip issue resolves, and now both legs are the same length, and nothing else returns to normal, or it takes some time to return to normal, then basically your eyes won't be level, and then your body's going to try to level that in any way that it can, and it will do it basically subtly at every joint until it gets what it wants. So this balancing act of going back and forth of these real subtle movements can throw major issues into your system. Like a small little ripple can have a ripple effect, a large ripple effect on down the line, and maybe even not today or tomorrow, but years from now. So those subtle little things. That's why they say like a chiropractic adjustment can kind of relieve anxiety. I mean, there's a lot of different things happening, chemicals that get released. But you could go from, slightly dizzy and anxious and in pain to out of pain, not dizzy, not anxious. And if done the proper way, you can be adjusted in a way that those symptoms go away completely, and your body's just back to its natural state. So I love chiropractic for that reason, because it can just be that simple sometimes. The sense of touch we talked about, but thermoception is temperature and heat. But it also includes extreme heat or colds. This is kind of in your core body, like your blood temperature, so to speak. So those receptors are all over your body, but so like a little bit deeper than just like the temperature on the skin. We also have nociception. Nociception is a very, very powerful way that we're kept alive. It's a sense of pain triggered by pain receptors called nociceptors. It helps us warn of danger. And so that can be, again, surface injuries, but it can also be like crushing injuries or even injuries from inside. So degeneration of your own body can cause pain that can let you know there's a problem there. And that's when you go see the doctor or chiropractor or whoever it may be. And then interoception is the ability to sense internal state of your body, like hunger, thirst, or having to go to the bathroom. So there's a lot of things here that aren't mentioned in the regular five senses, but are essential to survival, as you can see, like being hungry or thirsty, knowing that and being able to solve that problem for yourself can drive a lot of people. So some people are in a chronic state of survival, even though our world is pretty easy to survive, just to live to the next day. We're living at a higher rate than we've ever had in human history. It used to be a lot more dangerous, obviously. So nowadays, some of those old systems are clicked on for one of the various reasons that I just mentioned, and kind of working out of turn, so to speak. And maybe not. Maybe the world is just as dangerous and those things are still keeping us alive. We don't know. Hard to say right now, because I feel like our world's in a bit of a shift where technology is helping us evolve more rapidly than ever, but the kind of physical tools that we have, those senses are based on organs that are presently in our bodies, and our bodies are not evolving as quickly as our brains might be. So interestingly enough, that's my opinion, if you were wondering. So the animal kingdom too, there's other things like echolocation. So bats can see using sound waves, which brings up an interesting point. I was reading more about Leonardo da Vinci, and he liked to think about what music would taste like if it were a piece of food, or and that might sound like nonsense, but we know that colors of light, travel at different frequencies, and that's what makes the spectrum of colors. And it's the same with sounds. Some sounds are like louder and travel slower or faster, or are more quiet, and those waves are invisible to the eye, but can obviously be heard by the ear. But it's all waves, and they say like even my body is made of carbon atoms, which have a nucleus and electrons that are floating around it. So technically, even when I'm not moving, everything in my body, every cell and every atom in my body is technically moving, and they're bonded together and holding together my shape and form. But technically, there's a lot of space in there in between those atoms. So kind of a mind bender to think about. When a species becomes self-aware, it's pretty heavy to carry the burden of consciousness, and it's something that I've I think personally been trying to do my whole life. I think that's really what being human is about, is finding reasons to bear the burden of consciousness, to just live life in the best way we possibly can. Not to make it sound so simple, because it's really not. But I'll bring it back to the animal kingdom. So we have echolocation, magneto, and electroreception. So the ability to detect the Earth's magnetic field. Birds and animals can navigate with that. Electroreception, aquatic animals find prey using like weak electrical fields. And they even say humans, our heart has this electrical field around it. And depending on the vibration of that field, people kind of react differently to you. So even sensing someone's heart and nervous system, it's a very interesting play. So I love kind of the idea of that, and hopefully it's something that scientists can study in the future, just to kind of try to understand what might be happening in those interactions. And then bonus color vision, even some animals can see a wider range of colors on that spectrum that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, there's obviously still a lot I think we don't know. I mean, there's intuition, so kind of some feelings and senses that we can't quite explain. I watched the show ER recently. There's the patients that die and maybe come back to life, get resuscitated, and they say they saw dead loved ones. Like there's all kinds of ways the human brain chemically can cause hallucinations and different things just to protect itself, or by trying to protect itself, hurt itself in the process. But it's very interesting to think about intuition, and even intuition, sometimes people have an intuition and it's spot on, and sometimes it's their mind taking over, and what they thought was intuition, they've misunderstood. It's kind of more like the fear, like the amygdala hijacking the brain. And I can tell you from experience, it's hard to kind of tell the difference sometimes, and sometimes you gotta go down whatever path you're on, whatever choices you're making, to kind of, like we said in the last episode, fuck around and find out. And that's how you learn, these feelings that you have. Okay, what does that amount to? Was that fear, or was that like, I need to do that? I'm scared, but I need to do this. Because it's going to be what's best for me. It's kind of hard to delineate that. So through experience, you can kind of understand, what's what. And then like, okay, I knew that was wrong and I did it anyways. Okay, got to not do that next time. Or, wow, I'm really glad I did that because it's what I was supposed to do and things turned out really great. So no matter what, you win or you learn. And if you feel like you lost and you just are not seeing the lesson in a way. So those are all kind of senses that I think of. And I think if you're going to do a full investigation of life, the way that Leonardo da Vinci did, I think you got to cultivate each and every one of those senses. And like I said, you kind of got to trial and error that thing a little bit and try to feel it out and use both, blending art and science to really get the full picture. I think that's, going back to AI to finish up, I did see Tron Ares yesterday in the movie theaters. It was absolutely stunning. And Jared Leto plays a great kind of new master control program. If you know anything about Tron, he's a digital program that comes to the real world, and just overall stunning. But he's an AI, obviously, who takes a human form in the real world, and it's a completely fascinating take. It's basically trying to say, like, AI, what makes us think that AI will be malevolent, like, just because it's different from us. Basically his version of the AI came to the real world and came to the same conclusion that a lot of people do, is like, hey, this world's beautiful. It doesn't make sense, but I want to figure it out. And I thought that was pretty cool, just to not automatically make him the enemy. Definitely dangerous, but something that can be lived and coexisted with, rather than, a problem to be solved. Basically, like, he kind of ended up being the hero, which I thought was awesome. But it was clear, one thing they tried to get into was there's a point in time where Jeff Bridges' character comes back, and this AI is trying to figure out sentience and consciousness and feelings. And there's a moment where all of his information and, intellect, he kind of like breaks down and opens up and lets feeling in. And that's when he kind of becomes complete and realizes, like, hey, this is awesome. It went from blindly executing on, orders or whatever he's being told to do, to having feeling and using that to direct his existence. So really, it could just be confirmation bias, because that's really what I believe is, mixing information and feeling. I think a lot of times feelings can be scary, but all the information you can learn in the entire world will never really mean anything without the context of emotion. And emotions do get in the way. They can be inconvenient. But you just got to work to, like, iron that out. Iron out your emotions, and then iron out that connection between information and emotions, and don't get it twisted. Because if you get it twisted, you're not going to get the benefit of what life is, which is the intertwinement of those two things, in my opinion. So we're at about 24 minutes. I actually talked about that way more than I thought I would. I'm glad I kind of just dove in with 2 feet there, because it is a cool concept. I'm excited to continue. We got about 4 more episodes with Da Vinci here. So if you are listening out there, it is October 15th. It's a Wednesday. I'm probably going to get back to the original recording template, which was releasing on Thursdays. Recording and hopefully releasing on Thursdays. This is a Wednesday, though. So start thinking about it on Sunday, record Wednesday, post Thursday. That's my plan for now. I'm sure it could change. But I got a little extra time on my hands these days, and school is going very well. So this will be something I'm committing to, as a creative endeavor, while I'm looking for kind of, what's to come here, the end of 2025 and heading into 2026. So if you have been listening all along or not, thank you for your time listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Think about how you can stimulate your senses in any way, shape, or form. And I will catch you guys next time for round 4 with Leo. See ya.